How's it going? My name is Mir, and I'm a photographer from Texas, and welcome back to Photo Mode Perspective, where we look at photo modes in different video games, but through the eyes of a photographer. Today, we're actually going to be looking at the long-awaited new Pokemon Snap. If this is a topic that interests you, please consider subscribing. So, without any further delays, let's get started, shall we? Alright, we got the photos, now let's move on to the next step. So first things first, we're going to have to go to Save Photos to Album. I think I'm going to use this picture of Dodrio. And let's head to ReSnap. So one thing I've realized is that some people who are playing this may be new to photography just as a whole. What I want to do is explain these settings and how they relate into the real world. So if you decide like, hey, I think photography is cool, then you can translate what you learned here into the real world, into a real camera or your phone. So we have brightness, blur, focus size, focal point, filter, and caption. Very simple, very basic. And then of course you have ZR and ZL as your zoom in and out. So let's start with brightness. So increasing it brightens the image, decrease it, darkens the image. Simple, right? In cameras and in editing software, this will be known as your exposure. All right, so next up is blur. When you increase this, simple enough, it blurs out the background and it blurs out the foreground. Blur in photography terms is known as bokeh. So what I'm gonna do with the blur, I'm just gonna max it out for now, just to show the next couple points. All right, next up is focus size. And depending on where you have the slider, what it's essentially doing is the foreground and the background, where the limit is for the blur, the focus size is spreading it apart depending on where you have it on the slider. So if we go all the way to the left, it basically pushes the blur all the way down to this little sliver that you can see just going straight across the screen. This, in photography terms, is known as your depth of field. And then the next point, which goes hand in hand with the focus size, is your focal point. Basically, where do you want to focus? So if you move the slider around, you can basically pick what you want in focus. So if you take the slider to the left, it's getting closer to the camera, and you can see it on the slider itself. Like you want it closer to the camera. If you go to the right, it's further into the background, and so on. So your focal point, just what's in focus. And then you have some filters, which these are cool little silhouettes. They're not for me personally, but you know, if you want to use them, go for it. One thing I am noticing though is that if you do use this filter, all the blur and the focus size and everything, all of that gets taken out from what I can tell. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna hit Y and we're gonna start this over. Oh, and before I forget, yeah, ZL and ZR, that's your zoom in and out. And then you can use your left or right analog stick to frame up the shot how you want it. So for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna put Dodrio down here, just so he's not covered up by me or the settings. Okay, so what we're gonna do is see how we can make this a little bit more of a pleasing picture. So brightness, I think I wanna turn it up a little bit, not too much, because I think it'd be a little too bright. Yeah, that's way too much. So I think I'm going to go somewhere around here. Blur, let's increase the blur. Again, I don't want to go too much with the blur, because then I don't think it's just gonna look that good. Let's find our stopping point, maybe around here. Because I do want to show the grass in the back. I don't want that to be completely blurred out. I just want to show a little bit of it. I think that looks good, maybe halfway. All right, so for the focus size, let's see. I don't want to spread this too far apart, but let's see. Let's do something like that. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then focal point, somewhere around there. I think that looks pretty good. And then for the caption, I'm just gonna leave it nighty-night. Yeah, I'll keep that. So just a quick recap before we move on. Brightness is exposure. Blur is your bokeh. Focus size is your depth of field. And your focal point is your focal point. All right, what I'm gonna do is just move this around. Let's see, let's get rid of the menu. I think that looks pretty good. I'm cool with that. So let's snap this photo. Save this photo? Yes. Alright, cool. Let's move on to the next step. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna head to the lab and your space. We're gonna go to album and we're gonna select the picture we just did. So now we're gonna go into the photo editing tab. So here, after you've done your basic adjustments, now you can go even further and have some fun with this. So you can add filters, stickers, and a frame. So let's add a filter. Let's see, monochrome, exposed, contrast, high contrast, fisheye lens, TV, split into 16, split into 4. Let's see. Maybe contrast. Let's see what contrast will do. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Ooh, that looks terrible. Whoops. That also looks terrible. Okay, so with these filters, maybe go halfway. Let's increase it just a little bit. Yeah, very subtle. Okay, yeah, I like that. Just add a little bit of contrast, just to make the image pop a little bit. Okay, let's go back. Stickers, let's see what we can do here. So here, just let your creative mind go. You know what? I think that looks pretty good. And then you have some frames. I actually like this one. I'm gonna go with this. Masterpiece. Dodrio sleeping in the rain with his baseball cap on. Let's go ahead and save this. Yes. Upload it. Let's go ahead and upload it. Why not? It's a masterpiece. It's not. Well, that was a quick look at the ReSnap feature. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something about photography using that feature. If there's any questions you have regarding photography, please let me know. I would love to help you out. I also have other videos as well and other video games if you want to dive deeper into more advanced features. But yeah, I think that'll be it for today. Hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys next time.